What's up, everybody? Welcome into another YouTube live show. I am John Kurtz on the precipice of the Big 12 championship game here, coming to you with another YouTube live show. If you are new to the channel, here's how it works. I'm going to be going through, I'll give you my outline here for the show in just a moment, but you guys can control the content as always in the chat. You can pop in and get your voice heard by donating. Click the $ below the chat box where it says say something. In order to do that, that is how you support the channel. I'll get more into that later, but today we've got a handful of things to talk about. I think one of the most interesting aspects of the week that was in Big 12 country is what has happened with Paul Finebaum, of course, voice of the SEC. And when I say voice of the SEC, man, we're talking about the SEC's number one homer and maybe the number one Big 12 hater out there as well. And we saw this a couple of weeks ago. Actually, maybe just a week ago, was a little over a week ago, perhaps, when he said nobody would be watching the Big 12 championship game. Really has taken it to TCU at multiple points this year, not wanting to believe in the Frogs case as a legit college football playoff contender. But yet here they sit number 3 in the college football playoff rankings heading into championship Saturday, where a lot of people feel like they could take a loss to K-State and still make it. Well, Paul Finebaum has reversed his course. He has changed his tune on the Big 12 and the Big 12 championship game. And to me, it seems fairly obvious that this came from the higher-ups at ESPN. Regardless, it is quite funny. It is very funny, very entertaining that Paul Finebaum has had to do a complete 180. So we are going to talk about that. We got the all Big 12 teams released today. The main controversy seems to be Texas fans very upset, very, very upset that Jalen Ford did not win Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. And look, I'm not even saying that Jalen Ford wasn't deserving. I just find it hilarious that Texas fans are now in a position where they're having to complain about feeling like other people getting preferential treatment over them. The irony of all ironies, and I mean the irony of all ironies, Texas fans in that boat. I've got something for Texas fans here to start off the show in just a moment. We have the college football playoff rankings out. Obviously, TCU up to number 3 is the headline there. The Frogs seem to be in pretty good position even if they were to suffer a close loss to K-State coming up on Saturday. K-State being at number 10, by the way, definitely has to help. I think that helps the case there for TCU, and K-State has gotten a ton of respect from the committee, who clearly values analytics. I think that seems to be one thing apparent to me anyway, that because analytics would tell you, I mean, I saw the K Ford ratings came out for the end of the regular season, and they had the Big 12 ahead of the SEC in terms of average team strength. So, the Big 12 has proven itself to be a very, very strong league. I have some more numbers that back that fact up as well to give to you here today. And the committee seems to really, really respect that. Now, maybe outside of, I mean, look, a little irked of Clemson only dropping one spot and staying at number 9 ahead of K-State. But I look, based on K-State's resume right now, I cannot argue that they're getting disrespected by the College Football Playoff Committee. I can't. And I come from a fan base in K-State where we typically are angry. We are generally very angry. I can't even muster up the anger at the College Football Playoff Selection Committee for that. We've got news out of West Virginia. In Morgantown, they are keeping Neal Brown. They have a new athletic director. It is Ren Baker, the new athletic director, coming over from North Texas. Supposedly one of the most respected young administrators in college sports. So we'll talk about that in Morgantown, what it means. I know some West Virginia fans are going to be fairly disappointed with the fact that Neal Brown is going to be back in 2023. That's not going to be everybody's favorite decision there, but it is what it is, and Mountaineer fans are going to have to deal with it. I think it could be worse. I will explain to you why, and I don't think it is any sort of I think it's a fairly prudent decision from West Virginia. I'll just say that. So we'll get more in depth on all those topics coming up here throughout the show. You guys that have been here before, you know how this works. I see Calico Willie already hopping in there with a donation. So there are going to be enough people in the chat here. I will not have time to really monitor what's happening in the chat. If you want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show tonight, click the $ below the chat box where it says say something, and that is how you donate and get your question or comment on the show. It is also a way to support this channel, support the work that I'm doing and bringing you Big 12 content on a week in, week out basis. When you do that, helps me get you more content. I could not do it without you, so I really appreciate all of you guys who do support me in that way. Much, much, much appreciated as always. Also, if you could just like the video, that really helps me out as well. Just one click, totally free, doesn't cost you a dime, and that is another way that you can really support the channel as well, just by liking the video. And if you're watching this after the fact, like the video, leave a comment. Leave a comment. Let me know your opinion. If you didn't actually get here in time to be on the show, let me know what you think. Even if it's to tell me I'm an idiot, it's okay. Just leave me a comment. That helps out with the YouTube algorithm as well. All right, so that's it. That's what we have. We are off and running tonight. And we start with my guy, Calico Willie. What's up, Calico? I appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here, and thank you for supporting the channel. Calico Willie says, hey, John, I did feel that Brents would have been a little more deserving of Defensive Player of the Year, but still happy for the King. So ready for Saturday. Yeah, that is in reference to my guy, King Felix Anyadike Uzama, the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. It was announced today. He was a third or fourth Wildcat all-time. Oh, fifth. I'm sorry, fifth Wildcat all-time to win Defensive Player of the Year, first since 2016. Arthur Brown, Terrence Newman, Mark Semino, Jordan Willis, the other cats that have done that. Look, I think Felix is definitely the choice if you're going to pick somebody from K-State's defense. And I think Felix is a pretty deserving candidate there. Jalen Ford is going to be the real issue here, and Texas fans are letting the entire world know about that, including Roshan Johnson on Twitter. A lot of Texas players on Twitter taking there to voice their opinion that Jalen Ford should have been Defensive Player of the Year. I won't even really argue it. I think Felix is deserving. His stats are not as impressive. He did lead the Big 12 with 7.5 sacks. His stats are not as impressive, but it's because this year, total known commodity, guy that's being mocked in the first round right now, double teamed, held. I know K-State fans feel like Felix was being held on virtually every single snap this year, and not much of it was called. So he's just been a force, and sometimes the numbers are not going to reflect that when everybody can just double you. So that is the tough part here. These all Big 12 teams, coaches are making selections here. So they're the ones that watch the film. They grind through all the tape. They watch this stuff. I certainly trust their opinion more so than like AP all Big 12 teams or all conference, whatever, all American teams. I trust the coaches much more than I trust the media jabronis like myself, or I guess I'm a former media jabroni, the people like me that would be voting in said polls. So Brents has been great. Julius Brents was first team all Big 12 at corner. He's been awesome, totally awesome. But I think Felix really impacts the game in a lot of ways that you just don't even see because of how good and how dominant he has been. Remember last year, this is a guy that had 6 sacks in a game against TCU. The NCAA took 2 of them away based on technicalities, but he's just been a menace and a total force. So I am ready for Saturday as well, too, Calico Willie. I am headed down to Arlington on Friday. I've got my ticket. My boy Cole wrote me in to splurge for a little bit more of an expensive ticket, so it's going to be a nice seat for your boy on Saturday in Arlington. Follow me on Twitter at JL Kurtz. I'm sure you'll be able to see the whole thing. And we're in the process of trying to get a place lined up to do a live show for the 3 Mile podcast, if you're a K-State fan that listens to my 3 Mile podcast. So, again, follow on Twitter. We'll get you all the details for that. If you're going to be in Arlington, definitely come check it out. Anybody else that's going to be in Arlington, would love to see you if you're just a fan of the YouTube channel. So follow me on Twitter at JL Kurtz, and I will get you all updated on that. Okay, before I see some other donations, I'm going to get to them in just a second. Before I do dive down into that, let me have a little talk here with Texas fans. Look, Texas fans, you're making your voice heard about a lot of things right now. You're clearly pretty frustrated with how your year ended just short of some really nice, shiny things, but not quite there at 8-4. Just this kind of try hard 8-4 program that Texas is right now. Okay. I'm telling you, keep doing it. Keep doing it. I love when I open the Bird app, AKA Twitter, every single day, and I just get to read Texas fans, Texas media members whining about all of this. Because again, it is just the chef's kiss irony of all ironies to have Texas fans sitting here and complaining incessantly about being screwed over by the conference, other people getting preferential treatment over Texas, when that has been the Texas MO for decades and decades, certainly their entire time here in this conference. I think back to my first personal example of burning fire inside me, upset at Texas and Ricky Williams for getting the Career Achievement Award in 1998 over Michael Bishop for the Heisman. But how many times have we seen Texas get the extra bump to a bowl game, the extra bump to a player awards, whatever it might be, because they have that brand behind them? It is literally the identity of Texas to be hollow, lacking substance, but full of brand and full of bravado, and have that be what really carries the day for them. So to have them in this position where it's not just the Jalen Ford thing today, that's been the cherry on top to a week of groveling at the feet of the Kansas Jayhawks. Please, Kansas, please win this game for us so that we can go. Mighty Texas, we have to rely on the Kansas Jayhawks to get us to the Big 12 championship game. And of course, that did not happen. Hilarious to watch Texas bowing down at the altar of rock chalk to try and make that happen, only to see a 20-point loss occur in Manhattan. Okay, so you have that. Then you have the Sugar Bowl. Texas thinking they deserve the Sugar Bowl. Well, we beat K-State. Why are they going to the Sugar Bowl? Ignoring the fact that Texas lost 4 games this year. Oh, we have Bijan Robinson. Ignoring the fact Bijan probably would not play in a meaningless bowl game, even if it were the Sugar Bowl. Okay? Oh, but we're Texas. Well, nobody cares, buddy. The league is certainly not going to help get Texas in over K-State, who is the deserving number 2 in the Big 12 this year, locked in via the contract to go to the Sugar Bowl. Nobody is going to be helping Texas try to usurp that right now because you guys are leaving the conference. Screw off. Screw off. See ya. Who cares? Deal with it for a couple of years. And you know what? This is a nice little baptism by fire for Texas and their fans, because guess what happens the day that you join the land of Paul Finebaum and the SEC? You'll be treated like this. You think you're getting preferential treatment over Alabama? Do we think Texas is getting preferential treatment for awards and bowl games over LSU? Do we think Texas is getting preferential treatment for anything of this nature over Georgia? It's not going to happen, Texas. Get used to it. The days of you being the rule of the roost, the cock of the walk, whatever you want to throw out there, are done. They are done. So good luck. I suppose I wish you well. I don't, but good luck. Best of luck, Texas. I am enjoying your tears. I am absolutely enjoying your tears after the years and years of coasting on this hollow reputation. I mean, quite frankly, let's revisit the analogy that I gave you when Texas and Oklahoma opted to leave for the SEC. I said, look, it's kind of like you have these 2 guys that both have yachts, right? But one of them, Oklahoma, is somebody who grinded it out, who worked for it, who earned their money, totally rich, filthy, stinking rich, but they earned their money by year after year winning the conference, going to the playoff. They earned it. Texas has the same yacht, but it's sitting there because they're a trust fund kid. Trust fund babies, the Texas Longhorns. Trust fund kid got the yacht because daddy left him a bunch of money. And now what we're seeing is all of a sudden that credit card got cut off. Now you went to spend, you went to swipe, and that credit card got declined. Daddy has cut you off. The yacht has been repossessed. I don't know if there's a repo man to come take a yacht away, but that's what's happened. And so what we are seeing is how the rich trust fund kid would act in that situation. They would lash out, they would whine, they would cry, they would scream about how unfair the world is, completely oblivious to how unfair Texas has been to everybody else because of the way the world has treated them for years and decades. So screw you, Texas. I do not care. I love it. Keep the tears coming. It's been great. Thank you. And give me some more of that tomorrow. I'll be logging onto the Bird app tomorrow, just waiting for more. Thank you, Longhorns. Thank you for providing endless entertainment for me. Look, Jalen Ford probably should be the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, but that makes it more funny to me. Makes it absolutely hilarious. Another thing that's been whined about quite a bit is like Texas and Oklahoma fans are convinced that they have not been getting the benefit of the doubt from the officials, that there have been like no holding calls against everybody else. I mean, Shehan Jayariah, a great reporter for CBS Sports who comes from Big 12 country, went and literally pulled the stats to show that they are virtually the exact same. The number of holding calls that have gone against Texas and Oklahoma opponents throughout the year, virtually the exact same as average across the board. Yet Texas and Oklahoma fans find a way to whine. Oklahoma fits in here a little bit too, okay, with the way that they are acting. But again, at least they earned that perch that they had been sitting on for a long time. So I digress. There you have it. You're welcome, Texas. And I hope you guys are okay with me taking a little bit of time out of the show to get to that and do that for everybody. Joe, thank you for the donation, Joe. Joe says odds that Paul Finebaum is actually watching the game. I mean, he'll watch it. I'm sure he'll watch it because standalone at 11 a.m. I mean, what else is he going to be watching? I'm sure he will. Now, do I think that his reversal was legitimately sincere and that he did decide, hey, this actually is worth watching? No, I do not. I think that it was absolutely forced upon him by the ESPN brass. But I'll get to more on that in just a moment. Calico Willie, like the video, you heathens. Thank you, Calico. I appreciate that. Everybody should listen to Calico. Definitely go give that video a like. Totally free. We got 180 people in here and 53 have liked. Get that ratio up, people. Let's go. I don't mean to be pushy, but I would appreciate it if you like the video. Daniel, what's up, Daniel? Daniel, thank you for the support, my friend. Daniel says, bummed about the Cats basketball tonight, but excited for the game Saturday. Go Cats, Emon. Yeah, I was trying to do some chores around the house, getting a lot of stuff done. I missed like the first half of the game, trying to drive home from work. It was sort of a mess. A 5:30 tip time at Butler tonight was not very conducive, I think, to anybody's schedule. But yeah, did not seem like the Cats were ready to play. I mean, look, they've got some issues. They're basically a two-man show, certainly offensively right now. And if you shut down everybody else, no one's going to score but Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson, and it's going to be hard to win games. I guess Desi Sills did step up a little bit there in the second half. But yeah, it was not fun. I hate Butler with the fire of 1,000 suns after keeping K-State out of the Final Four back in 2010 when the Cats had the lead at the under 4 media timeout and couldn't win. Sending Jacob Pullen home with a loss. We'll never forgive Butler for that. I hate them. So that was not very fun to go lose in Hinkle, which is where Hoosiers was shot, which is the most overrated sports movie of all time and hellaciously corny. So there's my Butler rant for you today. Well, I'm just in the mood to rant right now, tired at the end of a long day and what's been a long week so far. But Daniel, I sincerely appreciate your support as always. Very, very kind. Thank you for that. I am indeed very excited for the game on Saturday as well. Still feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good about K-State's chances as we sit here. And still feeling decent enough about TCU's chances to make the playoff, even if they were to lose a close game to K-State, which, again, I will reiterate to everybody, is the best case scenario here. Give K-State an extra little shot in the arm for the program to boost it heading into the new Big 12 by beating TCU, winning the Big 12 championship. Get some new blood in there, and TCU can still go to the playoff. It's okay. Big 12 can still get the national champion, and it would be not even the conference champion. What kind of message would that send to the rest of America, people, if TCU is not even the Big 12 champion and yet they win the national championship? That would tell everybody that the Big 12 is pretty damn good. All right, so let's go for that narrative. Let's just go for that narrative. Remember that when you're sitting in front of your TV from 11 to 3 o'clock on Saturday. All right, that's my case. That's me pleading my case there. What's up, Provo Cougar fan? Provo Cougar fan says Big 12 teams bowl bound. 8 new Big 12 teams bowl bound. 12. Take that, Paul Finebaum. I like that. So new Big 12 teams bowl bound. 12. Yeah, because everybody coming in is, right. I'm going through that in my head. Yeah, BYU is, UCF is, Houston is, and of course Cincinnati is also. You are correct there, sir. By the way, I'm seeing some, I don't know how legitimate it is, but was seeing a little bit of like Cincinnati Deion Sanders buzz. That's going to be the one that I pull for. Would love to just see that in the conference for entertainment's sake. But to be honest, I have not closely checked on the Cincinnati head coaching search right now. That is not a very vetted thing that I just threw out there on the chat. So don't take that to the bank. I saw Deion Sanders like refuted through somebody else that there was a report or a tweet anyway out there reporting that Deion was deciding between South Florida, Colorado, and Cincinnati. Deion supposedly now has refuted that. So I don't know, but it would be wildly fascinating to see how that would work. Ema Tom, what's up, Ema Tom? Ema Tom says, feed me TCU. Felix will feast. Brenson Green will be healthy, and the Wildcats will roll the Horned Frogs by 14 for their third Big 12 title. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I would love to see it. I think a point that I will make here, just in fairness to TCU, because look, I fully understand the K-State perspective here. And if you want to kind of know what the K-State perspective on this is, it's that, well, the first game K-State got down to their third string quarterback. 2 quarterbacks were hurt in the game against TCU. K-State's stud, first team All Big 12 preseason middle linebacker Daniel Green went out. And when he did, with a rib injury, Kendre Miller just started to eat. K-State could not slow down the TCU offense at all anymore. Deuce Vaughn missed a quarter of that game with an injury, so they lost him. I mean, there was basically just like a wasted 3 or 4 possessions early in the second half where K-State had no shot to do anything. And meanwhile, the defense is dealing with Daniel Green being out. So now Green's healthy, playing great, looks awesome. Deuce seemingly back to his old self. You got Will Howard totally locked in, dialed in right now, playing great football. So that would be the case for K-State, like generally healthier. But the other side of that is that TCU also is feeling pretty healthy right now. If you read about what they're saying about Quentin Johnston and Kendre Miller, it's that they are healthier now than they've been in a while. And obviously a 62-14 win last week over Iowa State. Thank you, clones. Sheesh. Allowing them to rest some guys, not have to utilize them as much. So I think TCU is probably in what they feel like a better place. They're also more battle tested now too. I mean, so is K-State. Both of these teams are. But TCU's been battle tested. They won more close games. They now have a blowout win as of last week. So they are, I'm sure, feeling like they're in a better position than they were when everybody left in Fort Worth too. And let's not forget, K-State has also lost Kobe Savage and Sincere Mason from the back end of their defense, 2 safeties, one all Big 12 caliber safety, and another that is probably not all Big 12 caliber, but certainly very, very solid in Sincere Mason. The guy had a pick 6 right before he went out against West Virginia 2 weeks ago. So K-State is, I do feel like a better team in a better position than they were in that game in Fort Worth, which is when I came back and did that live show about ready to cry in front of you guys because of how beat up I felt like K-State was and that was just going to torpedo the season. It didn't, and now here they sit in a better spot. But I think TCU's in a better spot too, playing slightly better football than they were at the time as well, which is what makes such an intriguing game. So I would not predict a 14-point K-State win, but hey man, I would take it. I certainly wouldn't complain. Ema Tom, and I will definitely be there. Jason says KSU versus Bama, no matter what. Why not root for TCU? Because I want a Big 12 championship. I want a Big 12 championship T-shirt. I want to see another banner up at the stadium. You know, flags fly forever. I want to see that. I want to see that and a Sugar Bowl champions banner. And again, when TCU can potentially make the playoff as well, why not just the more the merrier? Utilitarianism. Everybody wins. Helps out everybody. Let's TCU, you can have a conference championship some other time. How about you take the national championship, take the natty, leave the conference title to us. That's all I'm saying. But the Bama thing is very interesting because it does appear that unless LSU beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, K-State is probably getting Bama in the Sugar Bowl. So I was trying to think back in my head to any time that I've ever sarcastically chanted, "We want Bama." And I don't know. I don't remember the last time I've done it, but I'm sure I have. And that is like a be careful what you wish for scenario. Like, now here comes Bama potentially. Do I actually want that? Now, I think there are a lot of great things just being associated with playing Alabama, having that game, having your name up next to them for a month and the build up to the game. All that would be great no matter what actually happens on the field. And I'm sure they would have a ton of opt-outs. I mean, possibly Bryce Young, Will Anderson. Maybe they're not going to play. Would definitely love to see that. So you'd have a chance. But I mean, even then, Alabama's bringing in 5-star kid after 5-star kid to replace them. So I don't know. It makes me nervous. I will be honest. Love the Cats, man. Very confident in them. But yes, I would be nervous to play Alabama to think about what could potentially happen there. But it would be exciting. It would be exciting. It would be a very cool thing. So, you know, hopefully I can just man up. You guys need to tell me to just man up about this Bama thing. So, okay. Ema Tom says, for your lack of faith, I just made it 21 points. All right. Hell, I love it, Ema Tom. Keep it coming. Keep it coming, man. I love the confidence. If you guys want to make your voice heard tonight, you can click the $sign below the chat box where it says say something to hop in here on the live chat. Whatever it is that's on your mind, Big 12 conference realignment, hit me with it. Let me know. Also, if you could like the video, I'd appreciate that as well. And if you're watching after the fact, if you're not catching this live, you can always donate and support the channel on Venmo. It's John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo to go that route if you so please. And I appreciate all of you guys who do support the channel. Could not do it without you. Calico Willie, thank you for the support and the donation, my friend. Calico Willie says, Bama is always scary, but I agreed with his D-Wives, Derek Young, today, that if any year you want them, why not this year? Have faith, John. Ema, always and forever. All right, that's the message I'm getting from my Ema brethren here, okay, is that I've got to man up and be confident here and think that K-State's winning by 3 TDs Saturday and then beating Bama. Let's go. I mean, in all honesty, yeah, K-State's had multiple teams that have been ranked number one in the country before. They went through a stretch under Bill Snyder where they won 11 games 6 times in 7 seasons. But if K-State were to end this season with a Big 12 championship, upsetting TCU, unbeaten TCU in the Big 12 title game, and then beating Bama in the Sugar Bowl, I don't know, man. It'd be hard to argue against that as being the best season in K-State history. I don't know. They finished 11-1 back in '97, won the Fiesta Bowl, beat Donovan McNabb. That was a pretty nice year that I would probably put up there as the top contender. I mean, '98, they were the best team in the country. They were ranked number one and just choked at the end. But I don't know. That'd be tough to beat. That'd be tough to beat if that actually did come to pass. Look, I think the Big 12 championship game is going to be fantastic. I'm not going to tell you anything crazy about that you haven't heard anywhere else. I think most people view this as a razor thin margin, two very good teams that played a really close back and forth game. People understand that K-State was up 18 in Fort Worth. People understand the injury issues that K-State went through, but I think there's also a lot of healthy respect there for the Frogs also. TCU certainly would have the overall talent advantage, I would say, just in terms of across the board. K-State's got some studs. They really do have some dudes, and you can see that on the all Big 12 teams. K-State very well represented there. But depth of dudes, TCU would have the edge there. K-State, another thing to keep in mind if you want another little thing to watch in the game, K-State's kicking situation is a lot better. Special teams in general are a ton better than they were at that time. K-State's been much better the last month or so on special teams. They made a swap at kicker to Ty Zentner, who's been awesome. Before that, things are very shaky. K-State missed a field goal in that TCU game in a 10-point loss, missed a field goal. Will Howard overthrew what would have been a touchdown by just inches, off a dude's fingertips, and K-State had to just throw away 2 possessions with a third-string quarterback. So anyway, I think you guys get the idea. I feel like it's going to be a very, very close game in that Big 12 title game. Jason, I appreciate the support here. Jason says, let's talk coaches. Jason W., by the way. Jason W. says, why would Fickell move to Wisconsin for marginally more money? Is it an ego thing? Does he have deep connections? Well, I don't. This is not in any way meant to disparage Cincinnati, which you guys know I think is a tremendous program, and like you cannot argue with the track record of hires that Cincinnati has made over the last 15 years. It's been phenomenal. They clearly know how to identify guys, but I think more than that, it's just a place you can win. Being in a metro area and a program that now has this recent tradition and has shown plenty of guys that, hey, we can identify young and upcoming talent. You can launch your career here. So many have launched their career by taking that Cincinnati head coaching job. It is a very good job, and it's getting better by moving into the Big 12 with more connections. But one thing I would point out, the Big 10, totally new world in terms of support financially that you're going to be able to get, and that is through no fault of Cincinnati's own or the Big 12's own, really. But with that monster contract, the TV money coming into the Big 10, the example I'll throw out is Nebraska. Nebraska is, to me, overpaying for Matt Rule. Now, I think it's a good hire, and I think they were desperate because they've been turned down by some folks and really needed, including Matt Rule once, and really needed him to take that job. But man, throwing a contract with an average value of $9 million per year out there for Matt Rule, it's overpriced, but you know why you can do it? Because you're in the Big 10 and because you have that crazy TV money coming in. And that obviously is going to extend to NIL. It's going to extend to facilities. You'll just be able to do more. You have more resources at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's been a great program. Cincinnati has won at a high level, but at a lower level, not at the Power 5 level. Wisconsin's been a very good program at the Big 10 level for a long time. I think it's clear that the ceiling will be higher for Luke Fickell at Wisconsin than it would be at Cincinnati. Again, no disrespect to Cincinnati at all, but I do think that is the reality. I think the better question would be, Jason, why this job as opposed to trying to make a serious run last year at Notre Dame? Now, some of this is timing too, right? Last year, Cincinnati was in the college football playoff, which made it much more difficult, I would think, for Luke Fickell to really entertain some of those coaching jobs seriously. So it may come down to timing, some of this too. But that would be the more curious question to me is he's been mentioned for bigger jobs or jobs that would be perceived better or at least equal. Michigan State coming open a couple of years ago too, and didn't seem to be very interested in that. That would be my question. Why Wisconsin as opposed to one of those other gigs and not making a serious run there? But I also, I think Wisconsin's a fairly underrated job, fairly underrated football program. And I think you can do a lot there. And I think it fits his personality. It fits his geographic region where he wanted to stay. I think there's a lot that really adds up there for Fickell. So It's a good question. It's a good question, but it does make sense to me. It does make sense to me that Fickle would take that job. Um, Joe, what's up, Joe? Joe, I appreciate the donation and the support, my friend. Joe says, you want to play Alabama, John. Oklahoma State made hay beating Notre Dame, a blue blood last year. Who played? Am I jealous of that? I would love a crack at Notre Dame, especially after K-State blew a chance to play them in the national championship game 10 years ago. And in 2022, had they beaten Baylor that year, it would have been a K-State Notre Dame national championship game that the Cats would have had a legitimate shot at winning. That was the Manti Te'o Notre Dame team that just got crushed by Alabama in the national championship game when it actually happened. So, yeah, you're right, Joe. You're right. You got to take those cracks. You know what? That's probably the best way to look at this, Joe. You have to take those swings when you get the chance. When else are you going to get the chance with Bama? So fire up the We Want Bama chance. All right, you guys have convinced me. I'm back on the bandwagon here. We want Bama all day, every day. Let's go. Let's go. All right, if you guys want to chime in tonight, you click the $ below the chat box where it says say something. That is how you make your voice heard. Pins your chat up at the top for me so I will see it and read it. Plus supports the work I'm doing, bringing you Big 12 content on a week in, week out basis. We touched on this a little bit. Let's dive further into the Paul Finebaum point here that you see as the tease for the video. Paul Finebaum, about a week ago, was talking on First Take with Stephen A. Smith, noted college football expert Stephen A. Smith, about the playoff and the rankings. And Stephen A.'s analysis was basically, well, USC's here. They've got to be great, right? Like, that's a great thing for college football. Let's just sign USC up. That was about the analysis that he had offered there on that front. But Paul Finebaum said, well, TCU was talking trash on TCU's strength of schedule, that they don't belong in this playoff discussion, and said then they're going to play the Big 12 championship game that no one will be watching, and da-da-da-da-da. Just taking a pot shot at the Big 12 there. Well, the Big 12 decided to respond and point out to Paul that 9.3 million people combined had watched TCU's previous two games. 9.3 million people. So a lot of people have been watching the Horned Frogs, like it or not, this year, much to Paul Finebaum's chagrin. And so that's it. He took a beating. The Big 12 was going after him. That obviously stirred a lot of Big 12 Twitter into action, because if there's one thing we know, Big 12 Twitter is going to respond. If you try to levy any sort of slander toward the Big 12, we're coming after you, man. The cavalry is coming. The Pac-12 has learned that. Various Big 12 haters. Stuart Mandel has learned that. Lots of people have learned that tough lesson here fairly recently. And so, of course, he gets hit over the head with it. And you also have to keep in mind here, who does Paul Finebaum work for, right? Finebaum works for the four-letter network ESPN. They just signed a deal through 2031 with the Big 12 conference with that new TV deal. So ESPN's in bed with that conference that Paul Finebaum was just running down. And then what happened? Well, the way the college football landscape played out this past week, all of a sudden it was, hey, the Big 12 championship game is the best thing going here. We're going to join that for College Game Day. We're headed there. So now the very same game that Paul Finebaum was trying to run down and say nobody would watch is not only going to be on the ABC, ESPN family of networks, but College Game Day is going to be there. And then Fowler and Herb Street, along with Holly Rowe, are going to be there. The number one crew that ESPN has to throw out there is going to be at the Big 12 championship game. And so that, I would imagine, got Paul Finebaum a little talking to. Here is what he had to say. He was on with Matt Berry, College Football Live and College Football Final host, and he said this, quote, just get ready for this, people. He said, quote, I said something once that people may have taken too seriously, but I can't wait to watch the Big 12 championship game. I really can't. I've been quoted as saying that I really didn't care about it and that the country didn't care about it. But now game day is going and you'll be talking about it leading into it. I'm all in. What the hell come on, Paul. You expect me to believe that is genuine? I mean, come on. It's like the I'm sorry if I offended you kind of apology there. Like, I'm sorry if my actions offended you. Saying like, well, I've been quoted as saying I really didn't care about it and that the country didn't care about it. Well, yes, Paul, you've been quoted like that because you said it. I heard you say it. There's this thing called the internet. ESPN likes to stream their shows. They live in posterity on the internet. People can clip it. There's also this thing called Twitter. almost ceased to exist, still exists though. And that is where people can share that clip over and over again of what exactly it is that you said. So it's out there. And then throwing in like look, I said the country didn't care about it, or I was quoted as saying that. Now game day is going to be there. I'm all in. I mean, that's about as transparent as it gets. He's giving away the game right there. Just telling you, man. Hey, look, game day is going to go, so I've got to say this. Of course, if game day is going to be there, it's great, and I'm all in because if not, my bosses are going to be very, very angry at me here. So now a little conflict of interest for ESPN getting back in bed with the Big 12. And now you're dealing with Paul Finebaum over here, who is always going to be slandering the Big 12 from his perch and his high horse. And what does he operate out of Birmingham, Alabama? Still somewhere down there. So look, it's pretty hilarious to see Paul Finebaum humbled in that way and have to come crawling back asking for forgiveness like that, whether or not he truly believes it or means it deep down. It's very funny. It's actually very akin. I feel like the theme here of this whole video has been around the same thing. It's very akin to Texas, being humbled a little bit. Let's get some Kendrick Lamar thrown out here. Sit down, be humble. Paul Finebaum and Texas. You have to humble yourself a little bit here at the altar of the new Big 12. That's right, because Paul is having to say this about a Big 12 championship game that involves neither Texas nor Oklahoma. So sorry about that. You will not get to watch your beloved Longhorns or Sooners in the Big 12 championship game. Instead, you watch TCU and K-State along with a ton of other people. I would imagine that this game is going to top the 483 million mark, which is what we got last year between Oklahoma State and Baylor. I suppose some of that will depend on how the actual game plays out. So maybe I shouldn't put the cart in front of the horse there. But, TCU has been such a huge story this year. Oklahoma State, Baylor, people watch because it was a great game. And there were some loose playoff stakes there with Oklahoma State. And to a lesser extent, Baylor, but not the way that it is now, where TCU is number 3. They're undefeated. They're in the playoff as of right now. You'll have the interest from certainly Ohio State. I mean, that is a fan base that's going to be locked in to that game, hoping that TCU loses. Buckeye fans, welcome, by the way. If you'd like to pull the same thing that Texas tried to do last week, groveling at the feet of Kansas, I welcome all groveling from Ohio State fans to try and beg K-State to win this game to help them out. Buckeyes, welcome in, buddy. I'll remind you guys this. C.J. Stroud took his first official visit, actually, to K-State before he really blew up. So we have something in common, Buckeye fans. Come on down. Water's warm in Email land. We'll take you. I know things are a little bit rough right now, but just throw your support behind the Cats this weekend. It'll be great. That should help the ratings, right? That should help the ratings that you're going to have people tuning in to root against TCU to hope that they fall out of the playoff. And hell, I mean, even Finebaum's legion of dummies in SEC country, I mean, they'll probably be tuning in to try to justify Paul and theirs opinion that TCU is not any good. So they will definitely, I'm sure, want to be watching that and see what happens. So it will be very interesting to see what that number is, but I imagine it's going to be something else that is very, very good for the Big 12. The other part about this that I love is that it seems like, I mean, from the outside looking in, I mean, no matter what actually happened behind the scenes, from the outside looking in, it seems like the Big 12 really advocated for itself here. They took to Twitter to fire off that tweet, which they've done now multiple times, to come after some folks. When people are out here slandering on the Bird app, they came after it and said, no, look, man, over 9 million people have watched the last 2 TCU games. What the hell are you talking about? Others stepped up and said, TCU has the number 1 strength of record in the country. Their strength of schedule is better than a lot of teams that Paul is just throwing up there for the hell of it in front of the Horned Frogs. Like, people came out, spoke the truth, brought facts, and it was spearheaded by the conference itself. And what have I told you guys over and over again? Brett Yormark fights for the league, man. He set the tone that this league is not going to sit back and just be reactionary and let people use it like a piñata. Piñata no more, man. The Big 12 is swinging back. Ain't no fun when the rabbit's got the gun. The Big 12 is trying to do that now. Rabbit with the gun a little bit, firing back. And I love that about the conference, that this now is a league that will defend itself and is kind of embracing, I think, the identity of the fan bases of the league, which are loud, proud, and ready to fight after years of being marginalized and feeling like they have to fight for themselves. I love the new identity the league is taking on with that. Whereas Bob Bowlesby, again, I think he did a lot of things very well, and I think he gets a bad rap, obviously, because of what happened with Texas and Oklahoma. But he was a much more laid-back kind of guy, just not the same sort of personality, not someone that was going to set the tone for that to be what the league really does. Now we have that guy in your mark. So I love that I saw that once again from the Big 12 with the way that they reacted and responded to this. All right, hop back into some donations here. If you want to donate, be a part of the chat tonight, click the $ below the chat box where it says say something. That is how you contribute. Couldn't do it without you guys. Genuinely, really do appreciate it. That is a way to make your voice heard as well. Tax it up at the top of the chat for me if you do donate. So I will see it and will read it there. Also, if you could please like the video. We're almost at 100 people. I just need two more little clicks there. Totally free. If you could like the video, I'd appreciate it. Helps me with the YouTube algorithm. If you're catching up to this later and not watching live, it's John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo if you'd like to support the channel as well. Julius, thank you, Julius. As always, I appreciate you, my friend. Very, very kind. Far too kind, Julius. Julius says, howdy, John. Keep fighting the good fight. Go Cougs. Go Cougs, indeed. We'll see where BYU winds up in bowl season here, but bowl eligible. Nice win at the end of the season at Stanford for the Cougs to send David Shaw out. Outgoing now Stanford head coach. So nicely done by BYU on the way out there. And Julius, I appreciate your support sincerely, my friend. To this chat, to the channel, and to the Big 12 as a whole. And excited to get you guys in the league next year. What's up, Matthew? Matthew says, and I appreciate the support as well, by the way, Matthew. Matthew says, debating making a poster mocking Finebaum for the College Game Day broadcast, but he's going to be watching now. Yeah, well, hey, I fully support that, Matthew. Just we got it. Maybe we should. Can we work something out here? Like, what are you thinking? What are we thinking for the for the sign? If we can workshop this, maybe the chat can help you workshop the sign for Paul Finebaum. This is kind of like I'm all about this. I am all about the clever sign life. Very much have been about that since like my days as a student. Although sometimes they would take signs away from you when you tried to bring in an awesome sign to a game. But the thing is that it has to be clever, needs to be clever. And the tough part with game day is like, they'll monitor some of those signs and stuff. And you have to be pretty sly. It can't always, you can't really, the vulgarity part is not going to work. But I actually have long advocated for like, vulgar chants, saying something vulgar. Generally, I would much rather have something that's just clever, like a clever quip versus just relying on the shock value and the vulgarity to go there. So that would be my advice, Matthew. I don't have a great sign off the top of my head for Finebaum. I'd have to sit and think on that for a second. But if you have ideas of what you're thinking, I see Matthew's asking for it in the chat. So help Matthew out, guys. Help Matthew out with some sign ideas for Paul Finebaum. I love this. If we can help make this happen, and get that sign on game day, if Matthew, make sure and tweet it. Make sure and tweet at me. Other folks tweet if you see the sign actually on game day, whatever it is that we land on here. See, Matthew says, simply put, are you watching now, Finebaum? That's not bad. That's not bad. I feel like maybe we could do better, but that's not bad. That really isn't. And hey, maybe ESPN would lean into it. Maybe ESPN would lean into it and actually show it. Hiking Cat. I appreciate the support, my friend. Hiking Cat says, this video needs to be shown in communication studies class as an example of nonverbal communication versus what is being said. He must not play poker. All right. So in reference to Finebaum, saying that Finebaum does not have a very good poker face in him delivering this message, this force message. It kind of, it felt a little bit, Hiking Cat, like a hostage video or something, like Finebaum, blink twice if ESPN execs actually made you do this. And this isn't coming from deep down in your heart. Blink twice if you were forced to do this. I feel like that's where we were at with Finebaum. Like in the hostage situation, couldn't actually do anything. He's being held at gunpoint there by ESPN execs to actually say that about the game. It did have that kind of a feel to it. That's pretty funny, Hiking Cat. I think that is accurate. I appreciate you weighing in there with that. G. David Davis. What's up, G. David Davis? Thank you for the support here tonight, my friend. G. David Davis says a K-State win on Saturday might be better for the conference, but a perfect season. Let me see. A K-State win on Saturday might be better for the conference, but a perfect season would be sweeter for TCU. It's going to be a battle. Go Frogs. Okay, I see. TCU fan there and G. David Davis. Yeah, look, I mean, I would not tell you, G. David Davis, as a TCU fan or any TCU fan out there to legitimately root for K-State. That is going to be very stressful on you, even if you did still make it in the playoff. You'd be sweating. You'd be sweating with a loss in that game, trying to see if it actually did happen. And you'd just be waiting like the rest of us for that little moment. I guess it would probably be when the number 5 flashes up on the screen as far as ESPN's selection show goes on Sunday. You'll be sitting there waiting with bated breath to see if he actually made it in. And the perfect season and a higher seed, potentially being able to play in the 2-3 as opposed to the 1-4, like all those things do matter. You could avoid Georgia in that first playoff game. Like there are plenty of reasons for TCU to be very motivated here to not root for that. But look, I think there seems to be a decent amount of mutual respect here between the two sides for the most part. So certainly it is there from me, G. David Davis. And I've been advocating for your Frogs all year. Love the Max Duggan story. Both of these quarterbacks in this game, honestly, are fairly similar stories where Chandler Morris was going to start this year for TCU. Max Duggan decided not to transfer. Will Howard got recruited over when K-State brought in Adrian Martinez and anointed him to start it right away, and he stuck it out. Now both of these guys are balling, and both of these guys are going to be playing for a Big 12 championship on Saturday. So a lot to like there about those storylines. And I can't wait. Honestly, I respect Fowler and Herbstreit so much. I can't wait for those two to be the guys that are really outlining these storylines here, especially after, look, I just watched the Tim Brando broadcast last week of K-State, Kansas, where Brando, just from the word go, you watch this little pre-taped open, stumbling over stuff. He said K-State would be getting in with a win via the tiebreakers in the Big 12. Just a mess from start to finish. So it will be incredibly refreshing to watch a game that will have that kind of a broadcast to it and have that kind of a quality in the booth to everything. Zach, what's up, Zach? Zach, thank you for this. Thank you, Zach. Zach says Neon Dion for Cincinnati football coach or we riot. I'm with you on that, Zach. I want to see it, man. Not only for the fact that, that's obviously a very high ceiling, depending on what exactly Coach Prime does, but just for the entertainment value for everybody. That would be wildly entertaining. I was watching a clip of Dion. I don't know if it was Jackson State's radio guy or who it was, or like a coach's show. It looked like a coach's show kind of situation. And the guy was just joking with him and asked, hey, man, my favorite team in the NFL is the Kansas City Chiefs. They're playing in Denver here in a couple of weeks. And I just tag along with you since you're going to be in Colorado anyway. Making a joke like that about Colorado supposedly offering him the job. And Dion just busted up laughing. They were just sitting there joking about it. It seemed pretty awesome. It would be fascinating and very, very entertaining for all involved if that were to happen. So I support it, Zach. I support it, man. I have my doubts that will actually happen, but I very much support that. Matthew, I see Matthew's still working on the sign ideas for Paul Finebaum at game day. Says Big 12 Fine-bombed ESPN's hopes. Big 12 Fine-bombed ESPN's hopes. Not bad. Let's see what else we have not covered here. We've kind of been jumping around. All right, we'll get to we've got West Virginia still on tap here. I guess I could read off to you the All Big 12 teams, the All Big 12 awards here. I don't know that outside of Texas fans whining about Jalen Ford, I don't know that there's a lot of real controversy here. In K-State world, seeing Jalen Daniels as the second team All Big 12 quarterback, a little frustrating. He and Will Howard played in virtually the same amount of Big 12 play this year, and Will Howard had much better numbers. Adrian Martinez had better numbers than Jalen Daniels did in Big 12 play. I think he was much more a product of the system than anything else, which is honestly, before Kansas fans freak out and get mad, that's better for you. I think it's seeing what Jason Bean was an effective Big 12 quarterback because of that offensive coordinator that you guys got. I would be ecstatic that it seems to be about that more than it does the individual guy. I would disagree with Daniels there as the second team All Big 12 quarterback, but there really is not a great answer there. That was a debate that I was kicking around on my podcast within the last week. Who do you put there? Will Howard has been great numbers wise, extrapolated out through an entire Big 12 season, would be the runaway winner there, but he had only played in 5 Big 12 games. Jalen Daniels gets hurt, misses a bunch of time. Dylan Gabriel, it's Oklahoma finished 6-6, but numbers wise, maybe he would be the next guy to fit in there. Certainly, it's not going to be Quinn Ewers, the guy that had to be shut down before Texas really started winning. They had to just take the ball out of his hands and give it to the running backs all game long before they became a really good team. So this was not a great second team All Big 12 quarterback, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Max Duggan gets Offensive Player of the Year. Maybe Texas fans feel like Bijan Robinson should have gotten that spot or deserved it or whatever. My simple argument there would be it's just about position. I mean, Duggan was good enough that he was able to lead TCU to a 12-0 season because quarterbacks can affect the game in that way. It's different for a running back. And some of that's not even the running back's fault. You've got to have a coach who's going to call plays and get you the ball. Mr. All Gas, No Brakes, Steve Sarkisian didn't seem to really understand that concept for much of the year and didn't get him the ball enough. Had Quinn Ewers throwing it 50 times out there in losses, and all of a sudden you lose 4 games and you're not going to be the offensive player of the year in the league. You're not going to win the Heisman, those sorts of things. Sarkisian had a quote this week. He said, if Texas was 10-2 playing for the conference championship and on the cusp of the college football playoff, Bijan Robinson would be in New York for the Heisman ceremony without question. I tend to agree with that. But the problem here is it was the perfect time to use the wonderful, one of my favorite GIFs out there on the internet, the guy in a hot dog costume who says, we're all trying to find the guy who did this. So for Steve Sarkisian to be like, hey, if we were 10-2, Bijan would be in New York for the Heisman ceremony. Well, let's try and find the guy who did that, Steve. That'd be you for letting Quinn Ewers throw it a combined almost 90 times in 2 of those losses in the middle of the year when you, guess what, had Bijan Robinson on the roster. It's your fault, Steve. It's your fault. So that was a pretty hilarious quote. But again, my point here would be like Duggan affects the game because he's the quarterback. He gets the ball like a coach. And I guess they could tell him to hand it off all the time, but you have a much better chance of affecting the game because you don't have to rely on anybody nearly as much. You're going to touch the ball every single play. Duggan's able to affect the game more. He had a fantastic year. He deserves an invite to New York for the Heisman. So certainly no argument here on who your Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year is. Okay, this is about your 5-ish minute warning on the chat. If you have something you want to get in, toss it in now. Click the $ below the chat box where it says say something to hop in tonight. If you'd like to, speak now or forever hold your peace. Also, if you could like the video, I would appreciate that as well. Totally free, just one click. Helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Appreciate all you guys who do that. So West Virginia, a couple big moves today. One, they hired a new athletic director in Ren Baker, who comes over from North Texas. And 2, the decision was made, ESPN reporting. Let's see, Pete Thamel. Yeah, Pete Thamel wrote the article at ESPN reporting that Neal Brown will be back in 2023 for the Mountaineers. So despite the consternation among the fan base, Neal Brown not going to be out. Let's first get you the scoop here on Ren Baker. Ren Baker is the new athletic director. School announced on Wednesday. He was the AD at North Texas and has emerged as one of the most respected young administrators in college sports since arriving there in 2016. Sources told ESPN that Baker agreed to a 6-year deal to lead the Mountaineers athletic department. Baker oversaw North Texas's impending transition to the American Athletic Conference from Conference USA, helped build North Texas's facilities into some of the best at the Group of 5 level. During Baker's tenure there, North Texas has reached the second round of the NCAA tournament and gone to bowl games in 6 of the past 7 seasons. They're playing in the Conference USA Football Championship game this weekend. This, I think, is important. Baker's hires at North Texas include men's basketball coach Grant McCasland, who came from Baylor, who has either won the regular season or league tournament in Conference USA the last 3 years. He seems that is a good hire. Grant McCasland is somebody I know that K-State kicked the tires on a little bit in this latest round of the coaching search. And I was pretty impressed. I mean, he's been good. So, look, Pete Thamel's reporting that he's one of the brightest young administrators out there in the game right now. I will certainly respect that from Pete Thamel. So, seems to me, again, without knowing this very intimately, that seems like a very respectable hire for West Virginia as their athletic director. Now, the part that's going to make West Virginia fans crazy here is that it also comes with Neal Brown being retained, and the Pete Thamel article says the decision comes in the wake of a 5-7 season. Neal Brown has an overall record of 22-25, just one winning season in 4 years. But here's a part of the kicker. Brown would have been owed nearly $17 million if fired. The remaining guaranteed money is one of the reasons the school fired athletic director Shane Lyons in mid-November. Contract still runs through 2026, which means a buyout of nearly $13 million at this time next year. Okay, so it's going to go down a little bit next year, but still $13 million, pretty hefty. Pretty hefty. I like this nugget from Brown, too. It says the formal decision on Brown arrived the same day that West Virginia finalized the hire of new athletic director Ren Baker. The decision on Brown's status coming 4 days after the season and the timing of the new hire suggests the decision had largely been made before the athletic director search came to a conclusion. So basically, like West Virginia brass had decided, like whoever this new guy is that's coming in, you're pretty much going to have to keep Neal Brown. You're stuck. You're stuck with him. But I mean, look, I don't think it's totally hopeless. I think the money is definitely a factor here because a lot of Big 12 schools, and this is not Wisconsin or I was talking about Wisconsin and the amount of resources and the money they have. Nebraska, right? Nebraska overpaying. They're at the back end of that contract. Go look at Matt Rule's contract by year. At the back end of that, they will be paying Matt Rule $12 million per year. There's not that kind of money to go around in the Big 12 right now. Didn't just sign a $1 billion TV contract like the Big 10 did. So that hurts. And $17 million, that is a pretty penny to be paying to fire a coach. And then when you throw in assistant coach salaries too, that typically a lot of those are going to be guaranteed that you're going to have to pay out as well. I saw some people, West Virginia people on Twitter saying like 20 million, basically being the number quoted there. That is a ton of money to fire a guy. And like, yes, I understand the frustration. Neal Brown has probably not been what you wanted at West Virginia, but it's not been totally terrible. And some schools have been rewarded for patience and or de-incentivized to go this route, like Auburn, for instance. Auburn fired Gus Malzahn probably too quickly. Then they get in the cycle where they hire Brian Harsin when they shouldn't have. They have to fire him very quickly. Now they're paying tons of money to fired coaches, and they bring back Hugh Freeze, who to me is like best case scenario, maybe Gus Malzahn. So they've gotten themselves into trouble by not being patient enough. I would also throw Jim Harbaugh out there as an example of a school that was patient here recently, and it did pay off. Because now Jim Harbaugh the last 2 years has been tremendous for Michigan when they decided to just cut his salary a little bit instead of totally firing him. So I don't think this is totally hopeless. I also always think back to, this is an old example, but I always think back to Mizzou in their old Big 12 days with Gary Pinkel. Gary Pinkel did not start out guns a-blazing. He did not come out gangbusters. And frankly, in today's day and age, I don't think Gary Pinkel lasts to the point where he has Chase Daniel and playing in Big 12 championship games. I don't think Mizzou ever gets there because the social media push, like people, it's more of a instant gratification society right now. Like people would have revolted before but they kept him around and it wound up turning into a very good situation. So I would not say like all hope is lost there as far as the Mountaineers go, but I do understand the frustration. I understand how that can be a little deflating. The other element of this is like the coaching contracts now and how much more of these are how many more of these are fully guaranteed or at least close to it. Who was it? I think it was Rule. I said his contract's like 90% guaranteed, not fully guaranteed, but close to it. That's kind of the way of the world now. But I also wonder if we're going to see more coaches actually like this kind of kicking back around where the contracts have skyrocketed so much. Thank you, Mel Tucker. Contracts have skyrocketed so much that now you're going to see this pushback to where like, oh, wait, we can't actually fire this guy because we owe him way too much guaranteed money. Maybe that will start. I sincerely doubt it, but maybe that starts some kind of trend to how these contracts are structured or pushed back anyway. Neal Brown, I think, is a good example of that, where just overpaying for him right now, and you're in too much of a hole to really make that sort of move. If this were a $5 million buyout to fire Neal Brown, my guess is he'd probably be gone. But that's not the case, unfortunately, for Mountaineer fans right now. Okay, couple more donations real quick before I get out of here. Eric, thank you, Eric. Eric Worthen checking into the chat. Eric says, I hope you and your cats have a better time in Arlington than I did last year. Who I imagine then an Oklahoma State fan. That's tough, man. Coming up just inches short. I mean, I know I've got nothing to say that is going to make that feel better. If it makes you feel better, I wasn't actually there, but K-State fans had a hell of an experience in the TWA Dome in St. Louis in 1998. So I know the feeling. But I appreciate the well wishes. Please cheer on the Cats again, Eric. I will remind you, K-State close win. TCU still makes the playoff. They can go win the Natty. K-State wins the Big 12. Go beat Bama in the Sugar Bowl. Everybody wins. Cameron, what's up, Cameron? Cameron says, glad Kobe got first team. Deuce deserved better. Rock Chalk Jayhawk. Yeah, I mean, well, let me go look at that. So your first team, all Big 12 running backs, Kendre Miller and Bijan Robinson. Deuce Vaughn winds up second team. It's hard. I love Deuce. I love him to death, and he is a phenomenal player. And really, I think it's like 1A, 1B for him with Kendre Miller. I think Bijan Bijan might be, in terms of like at the next level, the best player in the most talented player in the country. Again, the problem is the impact of the running back position these days, but just a total freak, unbelievably talented. But I think then it's like Kendre and Deuce have both been phenomenal. Kendre is a great running back. K-State's internally, like K-State's players have just raved about him all year since they first played him. I think he's tremendous. I would not argue vehemently against that. I certainly wouldn't argue if you put Deuce in front of him as well. But when TCU's unbeaten and he's been such a big part of their offense, especially when he was such a huge part of them beating K-State, I can't really argue that too much. But yeah, I mean, look, that's Bryant, right? Jacoby Bryant / Kobe Bryant. Now going by Kobe, the Hawk Mamba, as my guy Brian Haney, one of the nicest men that you will meet in the broadcasting business and anywhere in the world. Also, really nice guy. I love him. I know he calls him the Hawk Mamba. So first team All Big 12 there. Second team All Big 12 for your guy Jalen Daniels as well. Looking down here, yeah, it's Kobe Bryant, Julius Brents. A couple of the first team All Big 12 defensive backs there from the state of Kansas. So anyway, yeah, interesting stuff there. Kansas, deservedly so, got some run and some recognition on the All Big 12 team for the season that they had. Michael, what's up, Michael? Michael says, "Oh, Rose Bowl to allow college football playoff expansion in 2024. Hashtag Go Cougs." I actually had not seen that. In fact, I saw someone throw that in the chat earlier asking if I had talked about that. I hadn't, because I had not seen that actually come across, and I am freaking shocked by that. I was getting very annoyed with the Rose Bowl. Very annoyed with the Rose Bowl for sitting here holding everything up and trying to think that they're so much more important than the rest. Yeah, I see it from 8 minutes ago. The college football playoff will expand to 12 teams in 2024 after an agreement was reached with the Rose Bowl, source tells AP. Yeah, so this happened literally right after I hopped on with the live. I'm seeing the Pete Thamel report 46 minutes ago. Great news. That is great, great, great news. Thank you, Rose Bowl. I came down hard on you because you are very pretentious. I understand the pageantry and all that in college football. I get it. It just, to me, is also a symbol of, what did we talk about with Texas earlier? Brands and getting preferential treatment and all of that. You know, the Rose Bowl to me just embodies all of that generally in college football. So I've not been as big a fan of the Rose Bowl as most people seem to be in college football. But I can't deny its place in college football history. Yes, the sport is probably better for having it be a part of this thing moving forward. I'm just glad they apparently got off their high horse enough to do this. That is going to be clearly the best move for everybody involved. And you just had to put the Rose Bowl under the gun, put a little pressure on to make it happen. All right, that's going to do it for me, guys. I'm going to go get some rest, get myself ready to go for Arlington, heading out there on Friday. Follow me on Twitter at JLKurtz. I try to be pretty responsive in the DMs. Also, if you have any interest in meeting up in Arlington, again, I think we are going to be able to do a live podcast with the 3 Mile podcast that I do. And I'll keep you updated about all that on Twitter. So follow me there. Spread the word about the channel, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whoever it is, whatever social media you're on. Spread the word about the channel. If you have friends that enjoy college football, enjoy the Big 12, enjoy conference realignment, let them know about the channel here and what we're doing here in the community that has been built here around Big 12 football. Appreciate that as always. John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo if you'd like to support the channel as well. If you didn't catch this live, you can do that there. And I appreciate all of you guys for being here and for helping out here tonight. Justin gets the last word once again. Justin says, as much as I talk trash about UCF, I like to say that I wish them the best in the new Big 12. Wow. Justin, turning over a new leaf. Usually we get that last minute comment from Justin and it's like, hey, suck it, UCF. This time that was not the case. I like it, Justin. Good vibes. Positive vibes from everybody. Positive vibes here to end. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Enjoy the weekend of college football. Enjoy the Big 12 championship game on Saturday. And hopefully I'm sitting here talking to you on Sunday about K-State being Big 12 champs and TCU still in the college football playoff. Huh? How about that? Let's all set our watches to that. See you then.